You think you're a careful driver, but every time you hit the road, invisible habits chip away at your safety, sometimes fatally. The truth behind 11 driving habits that secretly risk your life isn't about reckless stunts, but decisions you make every day, like losing focus for just 3 seconds, enough to travel 300 feet blinded at highway speed. Most drivers never realize which common mistakes leave them defenseless until it's too late. So, which hidden habit is putting you most at risk right now? On a quiet stretch of interstate, the human brain can slip into autopilot without warning. After just 20 minutes on a straight highway, your senses dull and a kind of trance takes over, a phenomenon known as highway hypnosis. Most drivers never notice the shift, but inside the brain, EEG studies show attention flickers in and out, with microsleep episodes lasting up to 3 seconds. At 70 miles per hour, that's more than 300 feet traveled with your eyes open, but your mind completely disconnected. In that window, a car can drift across a lane, veer toward a guardrail, or close the gap to a stopped vehicle with no reaction at all. The consequences are brutally clear in crash investigations. In 2020, a multi-car pileup on I-75 in Georgia left first responders searching for answers. One investigator described the scene. There were no skid marks. He never knew he left the highway. 3 seconds later, his life changed forever. Dashcam footage from the incident captured a driver's hands frozen on the wheel as their vehicle crossed the center line. No swerving, no brakes, just silence until the impact. Emergency room doctors noted the absence of defensive injuries, a telltale sign of unconsciousness behind the wheel. Survivors reported no memory of the moments before the crash. The science behind these episodes is sobering. Microsleep isn't just a heavy blink, it's a full neurological shutdown, confirmed by EEG and eye tracking data. Even experienced drivers are vulnerable, especially late at night or after long, monotonous stretches of road. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration attributes thousands of deaths each year to drowsy driving, with actual numbers likely far higher due to underreporting. Studies of commercial drivers and shift workers reveal that the risk spikes after just an hour of uninterrupted highway time, but even the average commuter isn't immune. There's only one proven defense, the 45-15 rule. For every 45 minutes on the highway, take a 15-minute break. Step out, stretch, reset your focus. This simple protocol slashes the odds of a micro-sleep episode and restores the alertness needed to keep your car under control. Skipping brakes isn't a test of endurance. It's an open invitation to disaster. The margin between a safe arrival and a catastrophic crash can be as thin as 3 seconds of lost time. On the open road, vigilance isn't optional. It's the only thing standing between you and the next headline. Tailgating isn't just an annoyance, it's a mathematical guarantee of disaster. When a driver follows too closely, the margin for error disappears. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration ranks tailgating among the top predictors of rear-end collisions, the most common crash type on American roads. In dense traffic, this habit turns a routine commute into a chain reaction waiting to happen. The physics are brutal. At 60 miles per hour, a car travels 88 feet every second. Human reaction time, even for the alert, averages 1.5 seconds. That's 132 feet just to process and react to a hazard before a single pound of brake pressure is applied. Add in the braking distance, another 150 feet on dry pavement, and the stopping zone stretches to nearly 300 feet, or about 13 car lengths. When the road is wet, stopping distance balloons by 40% or more. No amount of skill or new technology can bend these numbers. The laws of physics don't negotiate, yet on highways and city streets, experienced drivers slip into the habit of closing the gap, convinced they can read traffic or anticipate the next move. Insurance industry crash reconstructions tell a different story. Rear-end collisions spike wherever drivers ignore the 3-second rule. In pileups, Investigators routinely find that every car behind the initial impact was too close to stop in time. The domino effect is merciless. One distraction, one sudden brake, and a dozen vehicles are caught in the aftermath. The 3-second rule is not a suggestion. It's the minimum buffer that allows for human reaction and mechanical stopping distance. Find a fixed point, a sign, a shadow, a crack in the pavement. When the car ahead passes it, count 1, 2, 3. If you reach it before 3, you're gambling with your life. In rain, snow, or heavy traffic, that buffer needs to stretch to 4 seconds or more. This is the line between a safe stop and a headline-grabbing pileup. The safest drivers know. You can't control what happens ahead, but you can always control your distance. On the road, space is life. On a steep descent, even a well-maintained car can become a runaway if the brakes are pushed past their limits. The danger isn't just worn pads or old rotors, it's heat. Every time the pedal is pressed, friction turns speed into temperature. On a long downgrade, that heat can spike past 500 degrees Celsius in minutes. At those temperatures, the laws of physics take over. Brake pads lose their grip, rotors discolor, and, most critical of all, the brake fluid begins to boil. When brake fluid boils, it forms vapor bubbles inside the lines. Press the pedal, and, instead of stopping, the pedal sinks to the floor with a sickening softness. This is vapor lock. The brakes feel spongy or unresponsive, and every extra pump just stirs more bubbles into the system. In less than a minute, the ability to stop can vanish completely. Mechanics call it pedal fade. On the Grapevine stretch of Interstate 5 in California, a tour bus lost its brakes after riding the pedal for miles. Forensic analysis showed boiled fluid and crystallized residue in the master cylinder. Survivors described the moment. The driver stomped the pedal, but nothing happened. The bus barreled through the runaway truck ramp, unable to slow down. Multiple lives were lost, all because the brakes couldn't keep up with the heat. Most passenger cars use DOT3 or DOT4 brake fluid, which starts to boil at around 140 to 180 degrees Celsius once moisture has crept in, a process that happens naturally over time. The risk is highest on long grades, especially if the brakes are held down instead of used in short bursts. A master mechanic puts it simply, engine braking isn't just for semis, it's your only insurance against brake fade on a mountain road. Downshifting to a lower gear shifts the work from the brakes to the engine, keeping speeds in check without building up deadly heat. Pulse braking, firm, short presses, lets the brakes cool between uses. If you notice a burning smell, smoke near the wheels, or a pedal that feels soft or sinks lower than usual, it's time to pull over and let everything cool. Brake fade doesn't announce itself until it's too late. The only real defense is prevention. Use the engine to control speed on every descent and save your brakes for when you truly need them. A steering wheel that tugs left or right is more than an annoyance. It's a mechanical warning. When a car pulls to one side, even slightly, the suspension or alignment has shifted, often after hitting a pothole or curb. That shift isn't harmless. It loads extra stress onto the tires and suspension, stacking the odds against you in an emergency. Forensic records from a 2018 Kansas rollover make the risk clear. The driver had complained about a persistent leftward pull after striking a road crater. Alignment logs from a local shop recorded a severe left camber deviation, but the repair was never made. Weeks later, during a sudden swerve to avoid debris, the SUV snapped out of control, rolled over the median, and came to rest upside down. Investigators traced the fatal instability to that uncorrected alignment problem. A silent hazard ignored until it became fatal. Alignment isn't just about comfort. It's about keeping the car stable when it matters most. Camber deviation, even by a few degrees, means one tire grips less than the others. In a split-second maneuver, that imbalance can flip a vehicle or send it skidding across lanes. Experienced drivers often learn to compensate, unconsciously holding the wheel off center. But compensation is not control. Mechanics warn, if your car pulls, especially after an impact, get a professional alignment immediately. It's the difference between a routine correction and a catastrophic loss of control. Tire pressure is another invisible threat. The myth that higher PSI boosts fuel economy has led thousands of drivers to inflate tires to the max number stamped on the sidewall. But that number is a structural limit, not a safety recommendation. Overinflation shrinks the tread's contact patch, reducing grip, especially on wet roads. In Oklahoma, a wrongful death lawsuit revealed tire shop employees routinely advised customers to overinflate for better mileage. The result? Reduced wet traction and a fatal blowout on a rain-slick interstate. Physics doesn't bend for myths. Less rubber on the road means longer stopping distances and a greater chance of hydroplaning or sudden tire failure at highway speed. The safety truth is simple. Set your tire pressure to the number on the driver's door jamb, not the sidewall. That's where the car's engineers calculated maximum grip and safe handling. And if your steering wheel ever pulls, even slightly, don't wait for the next oil change. Get the alignment checked now. In the chain of events that leads to a rollover or a blowout, these are the first links. Break them early, and you never see the disaster that might have been. A quarter tank on the gauge seems harmless, but for the fuel pump, it's a slow burn. Modern electric pumps rely on gasoline to stay cool. Drop below that mark, and the pump starts running hot, especially during long drives or summer heat. Manufacturer warranty data draws a stark line. Drivers who regularly run near empty face pump failures at far higher rates than those who refuel early. In Baltimore, a sedan stranded on Interstate 95 after its pump seized became a cautionary tale. The engine bay caught fire before help arrived, traced back to a pump forced to run dry after weeks of ignored low fuel warnings. The real danger isn't just getting stuck. Chronic low fuel means the pump's bearings and windings endure heat cycles they were never designed for. Over time, insulation breaks down, metal fatigues, and the pump can seize without warning. Mechanics see it all the time. One puts it simply, you're not running out of gas, you're running out of electrical power out there in the dark with trucks bearing down. The fix is basic. Refuel at a quarter tank every time. It's the cheapest way to avoid a roadside disaster. Engine stress often hides in plain sight. Lugging, forcing the engine to work hard at low RPM, silently wears out the bottom end. Studies show low RPM, high-load driving spikes pressure on connecting rods and bearings. Over months, microscopic cracks form, protective oil films break down, and the next hard pull can throw a rod or seize the engine. Mechanics recognize the aftermath instantly. Scored bearings, blued rod caps, and a repair bill that dwarfs the cost of extra fuel. The solution is mechanical common sense. Downshift early, keep the engine in its torque band, never force a climb in overdrive. Warning signs rarely announce themselves. A new hum, a whiff of burnt oil, or a faint grinding sound are often the only clues before real trouble strikes. Waiting for a dashboard light is a losing bet. By the time it flashes, damage is already underway. Pulling over at the first sign of trouble isn't paranoia, it's prevention. Acting early turns a crisis into a pit stop. Delay, and the car decides when and where the journey ends. A puddle on the road can look harmless until it isn't. When a car strikes 8 inches of standing water at 55 miles per hour, the tires lose grip in an instant. Hydroplaning takes over, leaving the steering wheel light and useless. But the real danger is what happens under the hood. In Waverly, Tennessee, a flash flood turned a routine drive into a crisis. The car hit deep water at speed, and within seconds, dashboard alarms lit up, power steering gone, battery warning flashing. The serpentine belt, responsible for running both the alternator and the power steering pump, had been flung off its pulleys by the force of the water. The driver lost steering assist and electrical charging in the middle of a flooded roadway. A first responder arriving at the scene recalled the struggle to move the car with no power steering, describing it as like wrestling a dead weight. Mechanics later confirmed the belt was ejected the moment water surged into the engine bay. The lesson is clear. Slow down dramatically before hitting any visible water. Afterward, test the brakes gently to ensure they're still working at full strength. The hidden chain reaction from a single puddle can leave you stranded, or worse, without warning. A dead battery on a cold morning is stressful enough, but a single mistake with jumper cables can turn a routine fix into a four-figure repair. Modern cars rely on sensitive electronics, engine control units, anti-lock brakes, stability control. These modules are designed for a steady 12 volts. An improper jump start, especially with old-fashioned cables or the wrong connection order, can unleash a voltage surge as high as 100 volts through the electrical system. That's enough to fry the circuitry inside the ECU or disable the ABS in an instant. Insurer claim data and repair shop records show a clear pattern. Up to 1 in 10 module failures in newer cars are traced back to a jump start gone wrong. Some failures are immediate, a car won't start, or warning lights fill the dash. Others are delayed with safety features quietly disabled until the next emergency. The safest protocol is simple. Always use a jump pack with built-in surge protection and connect the negative cable to a solid metal part of the chassis, never the battery terminal. This single habit shields your car's electronic brain from a silent, devastating shock. Handing your keys to a valet, mechanic, or even a friend seems harmless, until the car comes back with a new rattle, curb rash, or a warning light that wasn't there before. Repair shop records and insurance claims tell the story. Short-term drivers rack up damage, and the owner is left holding the bill. Consumer Reports has tracked complaints of sudden mileage spikes, mysterious dings, and even outright abuse after vehicles changed hands for a single night. In some cases, owners faced denied insurance coverage because they couldn't prove what happened during the handoff. Automakers have started to respond. Many new cars offer a valet mode, a digital lockout that limits speed, disables access to personal data, and tracks mileage until the code is entered again. This feature isn't just for luxury cars, it's becoming standard on mainstream models. Before handing over your keys, take a quick photo of the dashboard showing mileage, fuel level, and warning lights. Set clear limits on where and how far the car can be driven. If valet mode is available, activate it every time. These simple steps close the loophole that puts your safety and your wallet at risk when someone else is behind the wheel. At 70 miles per hour, a 3-second lapse in attention means traveling the length of a football field with your eyes closed. Throughout this documentary, official crash data and mechanical case files have shown that habits like tailgating, ignoring alignment pulls, and running on low fuel consistently lead to preventable breakdowns and collisions. Yet, despite decades of research and NHTSA recommendations, many drivers underestimate these risks or remain unaware of their cumulative effect on safety margins. Some questions remain, such as how often warning signs are missed before a major mechanical failure, or the full extent of electrical damage from improper jump starts. What is clear from the evidence is that discipline, not luck, defines your real safety net on the road. Every documented failure began with a habit overlooked. The facts are unchanged. Routine vigilance and simple fixes can prevent catastrophe. The next decision behind the wheel is always in your hands.